8:09, we'll call the meeting to order. Start out with the mission statement. Our mission is to attract and enhance industrial and economic development, help create jobs, and maintain economic stability in this county. We will work to promote and enhance the economic conditions, recreational opportunities, prevent unemployment and economic deterioration, and ensure the prosperity of businesses, industries, communities, and citizens, leading to an overall better quality of life. So, first thing is director's report.
Thank you. So we distributed our executive director's report for this past month, some highlights to discuss in the past few weeks. We've been ramping up our marketing and outreach efforts with Jenna's help now that she's more settled in. She's really been ramping up our marketing again. We've launched our business retention and expansion survey to all of our local businesses, so that is out. We're currently collecting responses on things like workforce and expansion, businesses who might potentially close, COVID-19 impacts. We'll have that open for about a month, maybe to mid to end of October, so that we can get as many responses as possible. To then just assess the needs of the community and how can we help these businesses. We are hosting 2 events in the month of October. Next week, we are hosting a winter tourism industry roundtable event at the Osceola Ski and Sport Resort Center in Osceola. We actually were able to visit their new lodge this past Monday. We took a group down. Awesome new investment in Osceola. It's a cross-country ski resort, snowshoe. He hopes to add mountain biking, biathlon. So he's attracting tourists from all over the state and country. He's hosting cross-country races for schools, cross-country ski for schools. So it's a really cool business. The lodge is absolutely beautiful. If you guys ever have an opportunity to go down there this winter, definitely check it out. So we're hosting a very small roundtable event there, maximum of 30 people to make sure that we can keep everyone spread apart. So we're looking forward to that. It's been a long time since we hosted an event. And then the second event on October 14th, we're hosting a virtual Center for Businesses in Transition, business transitions overview. But we have a couple of guest speakers who will be acting as a panel, and that webinar will be live streamed for all of the North Country to tune in. Jenna, if you want to pull up the ESD proposal. So in our packet, I sent you a proposal. We often get proposals from the state. So Empire State Development will be working with a specific business. They don't give us much detail other than here's a business that needs X amount of square footage, this type of site location. So this is just a sample proposal I wanted to share with you all. And this building actually, I don't know if you guys know the Bergen Bennett building out in the Australian area. Hans van der Weyden built this building for an agricultural business, and they stopped that business. So this is a 21,000 square foot empty building. He's willing to sell, willing to lease, if it's the right opportunity. So a proposal came in from ESD. It was a Canadian company that was looking for 15,000 square foot of space, various roof or ceiling heights. So whenever these proposals come in, we put together a nicely designed proposal to send back. So we often don't hear if we ever, what happens to these businesses if they do end up locating in New York, or where they end up locating. But whenever we have buildings and sites available, we definitely share that with the state. Pilots and finance updates. We just got an update from the number 3 wind project that project is moving forward through that Article 10 process. Apparently Ryan Bichet gave some sort of speech about transmission lines to the state, and that essentially went to move that project along. So they are moving forward. that project, and we're expecting to hopefully have pilot agreements signed. And then within the next month, Cheyenne and I will be starting our budget process, so sitting down and looking at our budget and saying where can we allocate funds differently. So we'll be starting that. And then lastly, we've had multiple conversations on Lionsdale and Lions Falls Mill property projects. We had our first call with Des Moines to help us with the RFP process with the Lionsdale property, and we have been talking with the LCDC board about future projects for the Lions Falls Mill site that include supporting Black River Valley Naturals expansion efforts and some property and water access for the community. So essentially beautification of that property so that the community is able to use that. Any questions?
That kind of wind, is the community thing moving along at least sort of the same rate as they are?
Community fund. So that was negotiated. We have to sit down with the LCDC to figure out how we're gonna implement that, but all the taxing jurisdictions did agree to that breakdown. So we should expect funds in the community development fund from that project.
But that is one thing. We need to keep encouraging county LCDC to get on that, because I know the town of Buffalo's already talking to them about this, bringing agreement that into that. Well, no, well, we just don't let that possibility go.
I think that's the main, I mean, it's really a county slash LCDC driven initiative at this point, but as Cheyenne said, we need to do something to remind them that it's, to keep the plan and the communication going. Correspondence.
So we did provide you all with an email that was sent to us by a solar developer. We thought it was just a good piece to share with you all because we've spent so much time and effort on kind of revamping that solar or countywide solar process. This company, Norwood Solar Farms out of Rochester, Cheyenne and I talked to them about just solar in general in Lewis County. They don't have any active projects, but they wanted to chat with us about if there were any municipalities who are against solar or more solar where they could potentially develop. He thought that our process was the most progressive of all the IDAs that he's talked to, and we've discussed the GIS mapping system that's been developed over the summer that includes the prime soils. And also the potential sites where solar development could happen. So he was like, if you have those parcels already labeled to a solar developer, that's ultimate thing. He says he sits with 3 screens and is constantly doing research on different types of properties that he could develop on. So if we could again go to developers and say, what about this site, this site, this site, that's so it just shows that coming from a solar developer is really nice and really good for the future.
We don't have to really solicit those guys, right?
Can we? Just about that, but it's the, if we have all this information, right, well, that's in the driver's seat.
That's what I said, but if you already have their work essentially done for them, why not? And we're pro solar as a just thought.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to really highlighting for them what's the preferred areas, right?
Yeah, well, based on that, we say, hey, we've already done part of the work for you.
And really don't want solar here for these reasons, but by other
any other business would be seeking out and saying,
Yeah.
give me a pilot.
Yeah.
And bring your manufacturing facility here, you are taking that stance on.
Yeah, even as we reach out a little bit, it'll, I'm sure the solar community will find out about it and
Oh, yeah.
probably,
Well, these teachings.
yeah. And that way we're in control, essentially, a little more than,
And hopefully hopefully it prevents, work being done at a site, the white work being done to potentially develop a site that really doesn't fit where we want to be developing to the site. If a certain amount of work has already gone into that from the developer and the landowner standpoint, that it's kind of more of a rub that, they find out afterwards that it's not a site, it's a research
Sure.
site. So hopefully we prevent some of that, so there's no upfront, not put effort into that location. Alright, thank you for sharing that, I think that's a good testament to what we've done, what we've been working on, discussing for so long. Alright, committee reports. Finance committee meeting a few weeks.
We reviewed the, August financials, they were pretty routine and, in a different mood there. Shai will probably go over that here in a few minutes. We discussed, bridge loans for quite a bit of time. Basically, our thoughts were that, we should assist commercial banks as much as we possibly could, but really, as far as IDA goes, I think they should, be sort of a last resort as far as bridge loans. We could certainly assist with, giving someone a bridge loan through commercial. We spent quite a bit of time with, Clark Peters' home and so on. Basically, our thought was to wait until we got done with the sale of the equipment and go from there. But I'm not sure if there's anything happened on that or.
Yeah, we have that on our agenda, last minute agenda item today.
Pretty much with the subjects that we discussed.
Darlene.
So, basically we met to review the comments from the various municipalities. And there was a delay in some of the municipalities receiving the packet, so, we did review the ones that we got back. One specifically from, I believe it was Denmark, brought up the suggestion, the idea of looking at providing discounts by the acre instead of megawatt. So we had a discussion about that. Cheyenne agreed to do some additional analysis to determine the feasibility of that, or kind of comparison of that with the megawatt hour. But at this point, pending that, which is not a rush, we agreed to just move the approval date for the UTEP to November to allow the time for the municipalities to review that information. We did receive information that the legislators passed the resolution in support of the IDA UTEP policy at the September meeting.
Yeah, thank you. So we had originally hoped that if, depending on the feedback from municipalities to pass the, implement the new, plan today, but, we didn't want to rush it through given some delays in, their ability to receive and review the information. We wanted to make sure everyone felt like they had adequate time and that their voices were heard. So we'll push that back. And I would add as well that, in addition to the county legislators passing the resolution in support of the concept, Farm Bureau at their September, the Lewis County Farm Bureau at their September meeting, as part of their annual, policy review, actually passed a resolution in support of the concept. And, that will be added to their list of policies in the county and actually be sent to the state level. Every county in the state has the opportunity to vote on policy resolutions in their county, and then those are sent to the state for consideration at the state. So I think that is another positive, for what the work is done, that the support from the farm community, and also that it'll bring some statewide awareness to what we're doing, and show other areas of how we do it.
I've talked to a couple of different towns and had a few comments, few questions, but basically very recent.
Joe, so I just wanna make sure I heard you right. So if this is passed here, which it is, I guess, we're not gonna have a problem passing that around to the rest of the people in the state. Cause I was at a meeting yesterday at Long Lake, and it was quite a lengthy discussion on all this stuff. I didn't say much because I didn't know exactly what the policies were.
Yeah, I think, and Brittany can chime in, but I don't think there's any problem with sharing this sort of concept. I mean, we feel like it's, has a lot of benefits to both the local, landowners and the county in terms of smart development, and that the solar company, the developers also, it gives them some guidance. So I think if we saw other counties in the state adopt a similar policy, that would be a good situation.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks. All right, so we'll move on to the items we have for approval, and there were a couple last minute things that Kevin will go through when we get to that. First of all, did everyone have a chance to review the minutes from September? They were sent out last week. Okay, any questions on those? We have a motion to accept the minutes. A second. Ron, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. The August financials.
Yeah, they're really anything terribly new on those. So, well, I guess I should say, we reviewed them. Do you want to go into detail on those, or are we going to do the finance committee review? I just don't want to reiterate it.
Were there any questions? They were in the packet. If there's nothing that you feel you need to highlight and there's no questions, I'll look for a motion to accept the August financials. Guy in the second. Darlene, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries, thank you. All right, snow paddles. Kevin?
Mortgage, or the IDA had a mortgage on the Snowcross property in 1985. Recently, the attorney came that was working on some new financing, and they discovered that this mortgage from 1995 that was in the IDA has never been discharged. I checked in my records that I have in our office, and this goes back to John Kipling's history with the IDA. It's actually predates, so you don't have, all you have is a copy of the mortgage itself. I'm going to assume that it's been paid off. I don't have any records of any debt. That too has been retained in years on this, so the assumption is that it was paid off a long time ago. And so what the request today is basically to authorize guys to sign, discharging this mortgage to pay it off the next year.
I don't even know what question to ask. Like, tell us if you need, like, I don't know, I have no idea, does this seem okay?
It does, it's something that apparently got overlooked. I'm guessing that what happened is probably, it was probably paid off in maybe 3 or 4 years after this. And then, it was a $30,000 loan, so I guess it maybe a 3-year loan or something. Thinking that what happened is the idea was paid off, the idea prepared to discharge the mortgage, gave it to Snowpals, and they never filed it. And now they've lost their records, they didn't have a record, then they have a copy of the mortgage, and the price of the price of it.
We held the mortgage company?
How far back was it?
95.
So what form is our records? Because I don't have the history of the progression of the IDA. What do you have for reference?
We have a folder in a box of files.
Kevin, who owns that building now, do you know?
Kate must have found that for you, right?
They sold that.
It's very well.
Orange Corner Snowpals, it still owns the building.
Okay.
So
I was thinking that might have gotten sold, but I guess not.
they must be leasing it then or something. It's not, they're not in, they don't use that.
Yeah, I think
They built a
someone,
new one
someone's leasing it.
Maybe that's what it is, yeah.
That's leasing
When did they build the building?
last year.
Oh, okay, so this was for building something in 1995.
Right, yeah, just last year.
So, okay, so the motion here basically, the request from Orange Snowpals is basically to authorize Brittany to issue a discharge to the presiding board, so that they can go back to another bank.
I mean, to the extent possible, it's been researched, I mean, I understand that there's some, missing, or documentation, but I would say to the extent possible, it's been researched, and if there's no red flags, then, it seems like it'd be something to get rid of.
And Calvin was 6 years old.
I must have been new.
You have to look into that.
Alright, so do we have a motion to authorize Brittany to sign this? Darlene, second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Alright.
Motion carries, thank you.
Thank you, Snowpals Station.
What is Snowpals?
It's
Snowmobile.
snowmobile club that maintains and moves the trails.
We did do some research, we also got
Oh, we did?
She was lost.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one that actually shows up on QuickBooks. It wasn't before QuickBooks
Alright, so now the next item is the park heaters equipment.
So as you all know, we've been working for a number of months to try to acquire our heater equipment that hands to forgive our heater portion of the loan that they have with us. Kevin and his team have been working all summer on these documents and trying to get a signature. So we finally obtained a signature and we are official owners of all of that our heater equipment that is currently stored in the basement of Jeb's. So a few months back, I asked Kevin what he thought the best course of action would be in selling this equipment, and he stated if we have a party that's interested in the entire lot, that's the best way to go. So we do have someone who was already interested in purchasing all of this equipment. So we're essentially looking for a motion to move forward with the sale process.
Can I ask what we're asking for? How much?
Tyler, we found Friend Constable actually gave us an estimate. He said it's very specialized, a lot of it. There's a lot of pieces and parts, connections, valves, that kind of thing. He said if we went about selling it like piecemeal, which obviously would be a whole lot more effort, we could maybe get up to 8,000, maybe close to 10,000. But he said in reality, we're looking more like 5,000-6,000.
Thanks.
So this goes back to the conversation at finance committee. We're gonna wait and see how much we can get for that equipment and then figure out, do we wanna put funds back in the fund to replenish the other 4,000. At this point, we just need approval to start that sale process.
Need a motion?
Ron, second by Tom, any discussion?
Just for everybody's information, because it's below the dollar threshold that we need to go out to bid, we're well within our property disposition policy to go out to not soliciting bids or going through our process.
Alright, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries, thank you. Alright. So that, so relatively short, list of approvals today, but we do have some good, updates and discussion items that.
I figured since we were light on the approval items, it'd be a good opportunity to just update you guys on some other things that we've been working on. So as you all know, in the spring, we will approve 15,000 over 2 years to create the MyNNY.biz website hub that would provide inexpensive but high quality websites for small businesses. This is something that Gavin has pushed for and has talked about for a while. As someone who's not from here, he always mentioned how it's very difficult to find businesses online because they're not online. So we partnered with Coughlin. They put their heads together and came up with this awesome platform, and I'm gonna have Jenna go through and just talk about some of the results that we're seeing from this.
Yeah, so it's been, I jumped right into this project when I started, so it's been really fun to kind of see it from the beginning. These are the 3 options that people have when they sign on. And Naturally Lewis is doing the promotion of $10 off per month. A reduced setup fee, and then free site design as well. For the first 20 businesses that sign on. We currently have 3 sites live. From the 2-month period of starting this to now, we have 3 live. We have 1 more in the works, and then 3 possible coming on in the next couple of weeks. So we're in the 10 range right now. By the end of the year, we would like to have 20 signed up, which I think is so realistic. We're seeing a lot of people interested. What my job in this process is to help guide people through. So Charlie Brown Crafts, for example, he came to Brittany, I don't know, a couple months ago, right?
Spring.
And his majority of his business is through craft markets. So he did not have an online presence whatsoever. If you Googled woodworker, he wouldn't even come up. But most people in the community know him from building clothes bars or furniture or garbage cans, that type of thing. So he actually approached us about creating an online presence because most of his events were canceled due to COVID. And his site went live in 2 weeks. It's the quickest of the process. He does not have a phone. He doesn't even know how to get on a computer to get to a website, but he knew it was important. So we sat down and he brought me a pamphlet that he used at craft markets. So we pulled a lot of information from that and put it in a digital format. So just to give you an idea, this is the 1-pager. So this is the $25 a month plan, which he is getting for $15 a month for the first year. A little bit about him, this gives them access to website, so send him an email. Also shows where to buy his products. Like I said, he does a lot of events, so this gives him the opportunity for people to send him an email and pick it up at his house. And he doesn't have to be out in the community as much. A spot to put his events, since a lot of them are canceled, we're still getting those keywords in there though. These go right to their websites. But if somebody Googles Golden Harvest Festival, Charlie Brown Crafts will show up in the Google search. And then a gallery of some of his products. So, just a fun way to display all of those things. Another thing that came out of this is they actually created a Facebook page for the events part of it, but we kind of encouraged him to do that. His daughter is going to help him out with that a little bit. And I have been there along the way to kind of help him with his questions. He calls me probably once a week just to chat and get to know the platform. But it's been really great to work with him, and I think he's telling everybody about it, so he's a great advocate for us.
Charlie is someone who called our office back in the beginning of COVID, and he was just kind of at a loss, like, I don't have any shows this summer. I heard you on the radio. What can you help me with anything? And I was like, well, we are starting this website program.
So it's what the role of Coughlin here would be is if he gets more shows or stuff like that, he can call them.
So how they built it is that they can manage their events through their Facebook page, and it will automatically pop up in this little box when he has an event, which is super easy for him because he doesn't have to pay Coughlin to do any maintenance. He can always contact them to add more photos or update contact information, but he can totally manage his events from his own home.
And Coughlin's role in all of this was to develop the platform, which, and I am like not a web developer, so forgive me. But the local support, the hosting, the security behind websites, many people will try to develop a website themselves on Square.com or Wix.com. More than likely, they're not website developers, they're not graphic designers. So Coughlin has those skill sets to develop a high quality website that is fully secure. It's right here in Loudville, and they have that graphic design element as well to make it look really nice. So I think that's the big selling point is you're not dealing with a company that's in a different state or a different country. You're dealing with a company in Loudville.
And the other big thing for Coughlin and for businesses is there's not a huge upfront cost. Prior to having this platform, if somebody went to Coughlin, it might be $700 to $1,500 just to get your website off the ground. Because they kind of have the one-stop shop for websites, whereas this is a simple brochure, a middle-of-the-road package, and then the shop. So it kind of gives people a place to fall into for their budget too.
So Jen, I got a couple questions. The design phase that you said that Naturally Lewis is assisting with, are you actually doing the design of the
No.
site or is Coughlin?
No. So if somebody
I was confused by that.
if somebody comes to us and wants to take part in this, I guide them through signing up, which is basically creating their domain name. So CharlieBrownCrafts.com.
If they have a domain, they can transfer as well.
There is a way to do it. The idea of the platform is to have them all be cohesive with the mynny.biz domain. So that's the first step, is to get them signed up with the discount. And then the next step is to have them fill out a form, which I can help that. Some people need more help with that, some people don't. Just to guide them through, okay, what are your colors that you want? Tell me a little bit about your business. What pages would you like to see? It just kind of gives them a little bit more guidance than Coughlin might provide at that step. And then Coughlin goes one step further and asks for pictures and content and, okay, what else do they fill out for the rest rest of the links, basically.
And then my second question is just, do we have any long-term agreement whereby Coughlin, agrees to not raise the price after that year, to an extraordinary amount? I just wanna make sure we're not setting up for future concerns.
So the agreement was for the first 2 years, Naturally Lewis would essentially subsidize and pay for, the design and the discounts. In year 3, his intent is to not raise the price. In year 3, it would be a self-sustaining platform. We can certainly continue to put money towards it to help subsidize some of those costs for small businesses, for that first year. So,
I think my thoughts on that are, I like what we're doing, I really like it. I'm fine with business owners taking on that responsibility as long as Coughlin has some agreement or understanding that we wouldn't wanna see a massive price hike.
Right.
Cause that just would leave a bad impression.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. We can sit down with Coughlin and talk to them.
Not that I think they are, I just wanna be.
Right, and you never know in 3 years, the cost of security might skyrocket, so, yeah, it's definitely something to consider.
Also, there's no contract when signing on to this plan. So, not that you would want to, but after a couple of years, if you decide you don't need a website, you can always get out of it. There's no locked in yearly price. So that's another benefit. Again, not that you would want to. It's there.
Can you include, links to other sites?
Yeah, I'll show you, Denmo, actually, right in Charlie Brown's, so Golden Harvest Festival is something that he takes part in. It goes right to their website. Again, all of these are links, so. And actually, Charlie Brown takes part in the Watertown Farmers Market, so his website will be on their website, so that it'll click back and forth, basically.
Can you go to the top of that one? One question I had was, we talked about this being kind of like an e-commerce park, if you will, for Lewis County when we were talking about it. Is there a central hub site, or is there a way for these individual sites to link back to that hub?
Not that I'm aware of. What the Coughlin's intent was to get a couple of these up and running. And these 3 websites will be the templates for the next website. So Coughlin will have the ability to say, Kevin McCardle wants a website, here's Charlie Brown's, let's fill in the blanks with your information, basically. With some movement.
I'm just thinking like as an IDA, having a link to our e-commerce part
Right.
would be one central place where we would have all the links, the Coughlin backs. That's the way I envisioned it, but
Yeah,
I
I
wasn't
think
sure.
it's doable. We can definitely ask.
Just a jump
Mike
page,
about
I
that.
think is really.
I'm wondering if, because we don't wanna, I'm thinking of the chamber, the chamber is like a membership organization, and those are some of the things that they focus on, so maybe it's they can create the Lewis County e-commerce, and we're just helping to create the website so that people can go to Charlie Brown groups. So,
I think it would be helpful, like Audrey saying, having, maybe I'm not looking for Charlie Brown Crafts, but maybe I'm looking to buy apples and I found out that Charlie Brown's is there. They're not currently connected in any way, so I think having that, that central.
So my question, from my point of view, if I came here and I typed in Lewis County businesses, would all of these links pop up, and that's what I was trying to say, 'cause that's what I want to know, right? And even, so if I come out there and try to put in e-commerce, I don't even know if I wouldn't even put that in. I would just put in Lewis County businesses, and then a listing perhaps shows up of a site, a hub site that essentially gives all of those, like a Yellow Pages, and then you can link to all of these. Otherwise, there's no way to find out. And my second question is going to be, so that brochure is online, right, of the costs?
Yeah.
Well, is there a way, can we send that out as a printed format, a letter to all the businesses? Because I would imagine how many of them are online you can look at. So if we're going to propagate this out there, maybe that's just a suggestion, if you think of a better way, like, I think somebody mentioned radio.
We are doing radio
Who
and
listens to radio? I don't know, maybe people do, right? See, that's my point of view, like, I wouldn't even think about it. I haven't listened to radio in 2 decades, so, but.
And it's AM too.
So, to make it, like, if we have a listing of businesses, then we can just send this information in a printed format, if you guys think that's a decent idea.
Probably, yeah, I mean, the individual websites look great, but I was almost thinking like this page would have, my Northern New York biz. Yeah, and have, like / businesses, and then it would just be,
What is the main?
every single business that was using this domain would just be listed there.
That's a great idea. To add a tab to the top.
and I think they could even show up as templates, but the actual sites. So, yeah, I'll definitely jump in about that.
We could think about somehow building in a chamber membership.
Yeah.
That gives funds to the chamber and then access to the chambers. The chamber already has a database of all their member businesses and all the tourism businesses and companies. So it's be a way to kind of integrate it all together, get people as chamber
Jumping to the next one, so this is just a little bit more in depth than Charlie's, so Patsy has a few more pages than Charlie does. And her main thing was they opened for UPIC this year, and a lot of people were asking the question, what are the different varieties? What do you use them for? When are they ready? So we actually created a varieties page on our website, so she doesn't have to keep describing them over and over again. So people can come on here and see when it ripens, what it's used for, and I think this page can really evolve into recipes and how to store them, stuff like that. And she is thinking about that stuff already. So, and they have been busier than ever this year with their UPIC. I think largely due to their website and having the information out there for people. They have been using their Facebook page to promote each weekend what's available, and that information is available via a link here. So people can go to Facebook, see what you can pick that weekend, some fun facts on here, some great pictures, just enticing people to want to go there, basically. Also, if you Google apple orchards in Lewis County or in northern New York, this will come up. And a lot of people are going to Syracuse or Mexico, New York to do apple picking, and I think this gives them a great option to do it right in Lewis County. And prior to this year, it wasn't available, but I really think that the website has made a huge impact on people wanting to go there. And then lastly, this one just went live. She's announcing it today that it's live. So this one was one of the first ones that I met with when I started. It's taken the longest, but it's also has a lot of things that went into it because it is a shop. So Chris Watkins is a local jewelry maker. Prior to having a website, she was doing a lot of her sales via Facebook and Etsy. So she didn't really have a centralized location to sell her products, and it was a lot of runaround for her to actually track down a sale. So this will allow her to have a one-stop shop area for people to learn more about her as a maker, and then also buy online. Very excited for her to get going with it. Again, she's announcing it today, so look for that. She's also really elevated her brand because of the website. She got professional photos taken for her products, and it's really just made a cohesive brand out of her products. Other questions or? if you have any businesses that might be interested, let me know. We do have Snyder's Sugar Shack has signed up. They will be getting going next month. Copenhagen, thanks to Darlene, is on the hook. Krager's maple syrup is a possibility. Keystone Lumber, and we have a few more ideas. So
In my mind, I envision, does everybody know News Junkie? I don't go on it, but I've heard so much about it. It's the name that I remember. So in my mind, the eventuality of this is a website that we all essentially just know that's where you go to.
Yep.
And everybody talks about it, and then it has links to every single thing you can imagine as something that is, hey, I'm trying to find a plumber. Hey, have you looked at whatever that website ends up being called? So that's in my mind is the end goal of it. This is fantastic.
It's a directory.
Right, and I couldn't imagine anybody, so, $25 is $300 a year. I can't imagine that not helping someone more than that, and just the know-how out there. So it should, I just think we should, first we need to, as an advertising plan, get the word out that we have this. Then being able to create a central hub, as Darlene said, and then promote that website itself along with, the Lewis County, our websites and everything else. So that's a great start.
Exactly, to your point, if there was a name, not necessarily the NMI biz, which is fine, but if we as perhaps, or we the chamber, came up with that domain name that was the jump page
That's
for
right.
this e-commerce site, I think is critical. And then from there, using money to promote that on perhaps News Junkie, linking Lewis County, those pages where people are already, trafficking maybe. It's important.
Great ideas.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's a great job. I love this idea from the beginning, and you guys have done a great job.
Yeah, and you're keeping somebody fairly busy over at Coughlin.
Yeah.
That's over
Yeah.
on Macon Tire, like.
That's the thing,
That's
is I
patient.
think they will eventually hire another website developer because of this project. Yeah. Thank you, Jenna,
Yeah.
for all of your work.
Thank you.
As you can tell, Jenna has been a great addition to the team. She just jumped right in and taken the lead on multiple projects. All right, so I wanted to take some time to talk about the Near State Economic Development Council. I shared last month that I just joined the board. And we've been members of this organization for a number of years, and I wanted to just inform you guys on what this organization does and how they advocate for IDAs across the state. So since I joined the board, I'm also on the IDA committee. I just attended my first IDA committee meeting last month. And a lot of what the EDC does, they are a not-for-profit organization with over 900 members from across the state. So these are economic development organizations, IDAs, universities, workforce development organizations, utility companies, and they bring us all together virtually or in person to network. They provide resources and education. Last year, they actually started the IDA Academy. So even though we're IDA, we're always asking questions about how to be an efficient IDA. Keeping up with the state legislation can be very daunting. So this organization created an IDA Academy to help educate IDAs across the state. And provide networking opportunities. So it's a great organization. They've grown to a 3-person staff. They've added a marketing person because they realize how important that is. I think the biggest thing is they advocate for us at the state level. So one of the things that they did over the past month is they sent out a survey to all the IDAs to just kind of get our input on where we're at in this way. And I thought some of the results were pretty interesting, so I wanted to go through those with you. So there's a little over 100 IDAs throughout the state. Each county has an IDA, and then there are multiple cities that have their own IDAs. So in one county, there could be multiple IDAs. And the first question, compared to last year, how many projects has your IDA worked on this year? So majority of the answers said about the same or fewer than last year. So obviously with COVID impacts, that's impacting the number of projects in New York State. What types of projects are you seeing in your community? Majority of those answered retention and expansion. So obviously, the discussion and the conversation in economic development since I've been involved has changed dramatically. When I first started, it was business attraction. We need to be marketing to other states, companies in other states to relocate here. It's really changed to now. It's not always going to work. We need to be focusing on our existing businesses, retention and expansion, more so than the attraction piece of it. Also, the conversation has switched to entrepreneurship and grassroots efforts, which is a lot of what we've been focusing on for the past 4 or 5 years. What industries do the majority of your 2020 projects represent? Majority said manufacturing, and commercial, mixed use, clean energy. I thought that would be number 1, but again, about half, little less than half of the IDAs responded to this survey. Do you anticipate achieving your operating budget for 2020? Majority said yes. What do you assess to be the biggest risk to your community's economy in 2021? This is a weird chart to read, but essentially the top risks that IDAs identified, number 1 was COVID-19, and then other high ones were increased regulation at the state level, lack of state and local government funding, and then workforce shortages. So those were some of the higher hot topic items that IDAs are more worried about. And then some of the other responses, infrastructure, so lack of internet and cell phone reliability, that's something that we deal with here. When we went to Osceola, we had this conversation. There's little to no cell phone service, there's no internet, so how can Dustin effectively operate this business without that? And then they had an open-ended question of to share briefly your ideas about programs, policies, or initiatives that the state could support that would create more economic development opportunities for your community. So Ryan Silva, the executive director of the EDC, put it out to the committee, come up with creative answers to this. What are the creative programs that we can bring to the state for them to consider for IDAs? Each year, time and time again, I think IDAs have the same sort of complaints when it comes to the state, and it's really all about the state regulation on IDAs. The Authorities Budget Office, which Cheyenne is currently working on submitting all of our information. So any more pilots, any programs that we have, our budgets, any information that we have has to be submitted to this online reporting system called PARIS, which is Public Authorities Reporting Information System. Yes. Okay, so any pilots that we have with local businesses, we have to send out surveys each year to these businesses to get, how many employees you have, how, what's the state of your business, just things like that. We have to submit that into PARIS, into BPO. So I think some of the big hot topic items with IDAs is letting us have more flexibility in how we can use our funds. Obviously, we're very constrained on how we can use our funds. We can't issue general loans and grants, although that was implemented this past spring due to COVID, but it's very specific to COVID-19 related loans and grants. Just letting us be more flexible, restructuring the ADO and how they look to IDAs. So this was an interesting survey. Clearly, IDAs, we have to deal with a lot of reporting issues, and the state just doesn't make it easy for us to operate and do that kind of development. So one of the things that Ryan asked of us is, just come up with any sort of creative programming that we can bring to the state for them to consider. Any questions on that? Okay, and then the second document, one thing that I think is amazing being on this board, that we didn't really, they send out legislation to their members on a regular basis. For example, last year there was a lot of information on the prevailing wage law. We wrote a letter of opposition, for that sort of law. But the EDC keeps the board updated on any IDA or public authority legislation that's currently at the state level. And it's 5 or 6 pages long of just bills that are at the state level. They could have been in there for like 3 or 4 years, or they're newly introduced. So I highlighted a couple of them that I thought were interesting. Excuse me. Let's see, what's the first one? So this first one is to provide loans and grants to any public corporation or any legal entity. So this was something that the EDC fought for, and again, it was passed COVID-19 related programming, but again, this is like give us more flexibility to loan and get our own money. Prior to the approval of any application for payment in lieu of tax agreement by an industrial development agency, the agency shall notify certain school boards and consult with certain district superintendents. So EDC stands on that as we oppose that. It gives veto power to school districts, requires their approval before a pilot can move forward. So just an interesting one. Limits the ability for IDA incentives to be used on projects already located in New York State from moving from one part of the state to another. Okay, so the EDC opposes this bill because it would hinder companies that outgrow their location and they're looking to stay in New York State. So that wouldn't allow Burn Dairy to expand in Lewis County because they're already located in Lewis County. Expands definition of qualified retail projects eligible for IDA assistance. Retail with IDA incentives is very muddled, like it's very unclear how much we can do with retail. So obviously the EDC supports this bill. It would allow IDAs to be more flexible with the investments in communities who need it. And then the last one, it authorizes IDAs to provide technical and financial assistance to agricultural producers for products grown, harvested, or produced within the state. So obviously this is something that would be really great for our economy here locally. So there's obviously a lot more bills out there. Those are just a couple of interesting ones. These are bills that we can get at our office and go to our local elected officials to say, hey, think about this one. Can you fight for this one? Any questions on that? So I'm definitely very excited to be on that board. It's Lewis County representation on a statewide board, and I'm already trying to convince them to host an event at Three Willows in Lyons Falls. So yeah. Any other discussion from you guys? Anything that you guys want to bring up? So I will say we're going to move our new location. We are moved in to our downtown spot. We have everything out of the old offices. We hired Cedar Crest Construction to help us move in. With 4 trailer loads, we were able to be pretty much out of the old offices. Our public chairs lingering. we're able to store some of our larger tables up there. New office space is kind of a mess right now, but it's very homey, it's very cozy, it's very, very nice. We're very fortunate to have found that location.
What's the physical address?
7551 South State Street.
Do you anticipate any exterior signage?
Yes, yep, we're working on that. We're gonna have,
Excuse me.
on either side of the door, one side's gonna be chamber, the other side's gonna be. So all is well there, we're still working on the internet, there was some communication issues yesterday, so I'm not sure if we have internet yet, I don't think we do, and I don't think we have phones yet either. So hopefully by the end of today, this will be resolved. But you guys can stop in anytime. Kevin did send us a beautiful tree for our office. He stopped in yesterday.
And we try our best to keep it alive.
Yeah, definitely stop in anytime.
So don't count on me for that.
He's gonna almost stuck in the phone with Kevin, you could just walk next door.
Well, that's what I think he's a little nervous that we're right down the road.
Arms like.
Yeah.
You could put up like a string. So our phones is suspect.
That was sort of IBA business.
What's that?
Talking to Terry, but according to the company, they have a pilot. According to anybody else, no. So Terry's gonna get on it.
That's some miscommunication.
Yeah,
Right there.
look at that.
So we have 2 interested people. I'm still bugging them to submit their resume, but they are interested. One is an engineer, and the other is a small business owner from Hurstville.
So just a reminder, that's a good reminder for them to do. And that was sent to the board, but it's still posted on the website, so even if you do know of anyone else, you can send them that link to the website, or just get them written in that phone number, if they want to talk further. Yeah, we did try, we tried broadly advertising it through social media and other avenues, through the newsletter and linking people to the application on the website. And we've also tried some targeted, follow-ups with people, just say, hey, we wanted to make sure you saw this, that it was on the website, and if you would consider it. So certainly it would still be good to promote that. And just a reminder, the applications actually go to the county, not to us. So if they submit a letter of interest and a resume, it goes to the county, and they're the ones that lead the process in terms of an interview and an alternate.
Yeah, comment too, because I think it sent an email following the newsletter that came out. I think it actually should have been entire company, but I thought that was very well done. And do you anticipate that be quarterly or?
Monthly right now, and we're gonna do some one-off emails in between too, but the goal is to do a monthly newsletter around the 15th of the month.
It's very well done.
Yeah, you get a comment from the tech person that worked with something he commented yesterday, I said it was doing some work to get some of our stuff out of the building. I was impressed by our emails, and just how we present.
So I have one more question. The meeting But so that I understand, one of the things, like when I think about the areas in which we're trying to develop our county, a lot of it is through entrepreneurship, as you mentioned, in small business and grassroots. What mechanism or opportunities are in place that connect IDAs with real estate? And by that, I just mean obviously bringing more people, which we're already seeing in mass exodus of cities. Is there anything in place and what does that?
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because we've been talking about putting together a real estate roundtable, a virtual real estate roundtable. So bringing all the real estate agents together to talk about, there's people moving here, you're talking with people who are from New Jersey or down the state. Maybe they own businesses, maybe they want to invest, maybe they want to buy this business for sale. So we need to get more information.
Or maybe they're bringing a business that we don't even know about right at home.
Right.
And connecting them with.
There's definitely quite a bit of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we want to bring all the real estate agents together to talk to them about a plan of attack to just, simply putting welcome back together. And Good Morning Realty is already, like they're doing welcome back to local products. That's something that we talked about, but can be put on the Adirondack Hill Visitors Guide and then Natural List information in there. We're here to help with you. Your business.
Well, it's a change of focus too, because, in the past, in a more traditional sense, it was, keeping an inventory of commercial spaces, like listed on our website, but now it's, now it is residential because there's people working from home and that sort of thing, right? So that's a bit of a shift in, not just trying to keep our pulse on the commercial business spaces that might be available for sale or lease or something, but also the residential side is being.
Well, and we've talked about this about creating advocates in the community, and whether we target people and ask them to be an advocate or if that's just going to happen organically. If real estate agents can be advocates and directing people to us, or at least speaking well of us, that's a
And I will say, even though, we're shifting this into entrepreneurship and some of those grassroots efforts, we're still focused on our manufacturers as well. We're going to be scheduling meetings with each of our manufacturers for November and December. Usually we do it every summer. This summer just got away from us with all the transitions and everything else going on. So we will be scheduling one-on-one meetings just to assess their needs.
Thank you.
Okay, so, this is some good discussion, and it's nice that we had a little extra time today. If we try to wrap up in another 10 or 15 minutes here, is there any other
It's the solar locations there. I didn't quite get whether you've already got that done or it was something you would be doing.
The GIS.
Well, sort of recommended locations.
Yeah, they in Hill Commission, I believe, came up with the layer that has potential sites for solar development based on the energy feedback with electrical programs and things like that.
So, right, so there's kind of,
And then what we did over the summer was create 3 layers. One that has all the prime and one that has land of statewide importance and one that has prime and drainage. So the intent is to kind of mesh all those together, see some of those potential solar development locations, see what they line up in regard to prime and drainage, land of statewide importance.
You've got this done.
The layers are done, we just need to put it into we need to send that into real properties for them to put out on the site. And that is in process.
so So it was a combination because the first initiative was to look at where there was three-phase power infrastructure, and that was done by Dane and the Public
I
Commission.
thought maybe you've done my job for me, because I'm running around looking for this stuff.
And so, right, so Dane created this layer in these physical maps, or they're printed in the Tugville Commission document for each county, a map of and now Lewis County Soil and Water created these new layers for us specifically looking at land, soil type categories. So it's a matter of soil and water and the county and the bank are now in communication with each other to put that in together.
So yes, it'll be useful tool for you.
And it should be done, I mean,
We need to check it.
yeah, we should follow up with them and Michelle, but it's, they were trying to get the appropriate files. Yeah, and I don't, again, the hope is that will show anyone that's interested, like, here's a logical place that, because of the infrastructure that solar could be developed, and then here are the soil type considerations of using certain parcels within this, kind of footprint.
Action items. This is something we discussed at our UTEC meeting. Again, we're still working on that bigger countywide solar process. Once we get our UTEC approved, then we'll take the next steps, put all the information on our website, our county website, and really get that step-by-step process in place. So we'll work with Cassie at planning and department to get this implemented. And that's where, if you guys are out in the community, you're talking to landowners, that's where that information will be really important. So we'll still continue to reach out this month for comment on the UTEP. Some towns, they plan to discuss it at their October meeting, so we'll just continue to reach out. And then we'll probably do another Zoom call at some point this month to review some of those points. So thank you to the governance committee and Tom for all of your work on this. And then for October, we're restarting our strategic planning process. We've sent you 2 calendar invites for 2 more sessions with Christy to finish that process up. Very excited for that. So we'll have a roadmap for the next 3 to 5 years. Yes, they're here in this room, I believe.
Yeah.
Any questions on that?
Anything else? Motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you for.
Thank you, everyone. And before I
It's the first Sunday.
Yeah, she's.
I almost was like,
She's great. Very,
something wrong with
in this meeting.
Busy at the meetings.
Not on.
Wrong title.
Yeah.